you want your holes filled, you have to pay.
If you want your holes filled by Tobias Forge, you have to pay £12.
I am all ears. A ghost fancast.
Hello, welcome back to the I'm All Ears podcast with me, Alva. Right, we're back off tour. Back with Alana and Katie. Hello.
Hello.
Right, we've got some beef with Mr. Tobias Jens Forge. And we need to talk about this.
We promised answers and we have more questions.
If you don't know what we're talking about, we're of course talking about the comic book series that was released and has now been concluded, ? So all 4 of the issues are out now, so it's given us time to sort of read through them again and again and again, and still ponder what the fuck happened. Because I'm confused.
Yeah. Like I said to somebody on Twitter, I was like, it's the kind of common ghost thing where, they close one door and then open 3 windows at the same time. And so you're like, what's happening here?
In true Forge fashion, continuity seems to be a bit of a what you call it? It's lacking.
He knows the concept of it. He just doesn't want to acknowledge that it exists.
Yeah.
It's the soft, fuzzy gray wash.
Yeah.
And obviously with him coming out in interviews saying, the lore is going to die down eventually, not right now, but eventually, I think a lot of people have panicked, and a lot of people read this and also panicked. So yeah, let's go through what the fuck is happening. So a couple of things before we get in. First off, spoiler alert ahead, because I'm going to go through like issue by issue and sort of give like a quick summary, literally as in basic terms as possible of what happened in each one.
Yeah, if you don't want to hear the spoilers, if you haven't read the comic yet, you should turn it off now.
Yeah, please stop. And also just a couple of trigger warnings. Obviously the comic does deal with a lot of topics such as implied abortions, rape, murder, some gory stuff, and just general mistreatment of women.
Religious trauma.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
So much. A lot of it. So if you are uncomfortable with any of that, just, go take care of yourself. Don't listen to us yap, because we're just gonna, I'm not gonna, necessarily pussyfoot around it, because I think some of the topics that are brought up in this are quite important. So I'm not gonna, use, the buzzwords, like R word and things. I'm just gonna say it as it is. So yeah, buckle up, bitches.
I would like to say before we start as well, I would like to talk about kind of more of the creation side of it a little second.
Please
about
do.
some of the people who made it. Because the guy who did the 4 covers were done by the same guy, and his name is Mikael Eriksson, and he did the Right Here Right Now movie poster and the album cover as well. And I just think he's great, and Tobias should work with him a lot more, please.
I was gonna say, do you remember when these came out and everyone was like, "Is this AI?" And we're like, "For fuck's sake, no."
I think it's just because it's such such an old style of kind of art. It's the kind of I can't remember their name right now off the top of my head. It's the same as the guy that does the posters for the tour.
Oh, Aaron Lee.
He does a very realistic style, which could be misconstrued for AI if you don't understand that style of art, But also as well, talking the script wasn't written by Tobias. That man doesn't know how to write a comic script to save himself. It was written by a woman called Cornelia. Is that? I don't know how to pronounce that. Corinna.
Karina, maybe.
Karina Becko, and she's written for DC, Marvel. She's written some Avatar comics, some Once Upon a Time comics, some Star Wars comics as well. So
I will say as well, this being released on Dark Horse gave me such war flashbacks, because if you were an MCR stan back in the 2000s when the Umbrella Academy got released, and this was my introduction to who Dark Horse Comics was, and I was just like, it's just like the Umbrella Academy release all over again.
But it's cool that he managed to get Dark Horse. To be
Mm,
honest, like they're a big, like probably one of the
Yeah.
biggest distributors of comics,
mm,
and they I will say as well they didn't like ignore it. Like sometimes it's like comics come out and they don't get any kind of like social media kind of traction from Dark Horse and stuff.
mm,
But like they were posting about it all the time, and they were talking about the first issue being out, and like also as well a big thing for this comic is the first issue had to get reprinted because it sold out, which is a huge thing because that doesn't
mm.
happen very often,
Yeah.
you know.
Psyching.
So play for that. The person who actually did the art for the comic, I do not know how to say their name. It's Puste.
I've been saying pused, but that,
Puste.
that might be
Oh, I
wrong.
was going pusty.
I was saying, I was just kind of going that person. But they, ironically, they've drawn for Scooby Doo.
Amazing.
Amazing.
They've also done Batman, Rick and Morty, Buffy, and a WWE comic.
Nice.
Beautiful.
The Scooby Doo one is what made me laugh because I was like, "Do you think it was intentional?" Or
100%.
and I love that. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of put them in there too because they're just as equally as important for something like this.
Do you have any info on the other two? Is it Thygo Rocha and Jimmy Bentoncourt?
Oh,
Let me have a look.
that is Thiago for our Portuguese speakers.
Sorry.
I don't want Portuguese speakers to get mad at us.
Oh no, they're the ones who colored it and done the letters. I didn't look into them. Sorry,
Oh, okay.
you're equally as important. I just forgot to look into it because all my research was done today. Uh, um, but we can have a look now. That's what the internet's for. So, how did you pronounce Tiago
Thiago. Yeah.
Tiago Rocha?
Yeah.
They have done uh Kill All Immortals, which is a comic series by Dark Horse as well. They've colored for that.
The
They've
colorist, I
colored,
was going to say.
yeah. They've colored for Masterminds, a comic called Masterminds. Hacktivists is another one they've done.
Oh.
Yeah, they seem to work for DC as well, some DC stuff.
Ooh.
They're very, very talented. I'm looking at their Instagram right now. Amazing stuff. Star Wars stuff in here too, as well. Do you think he just kind of like put a cost out call? Have you worked for Star Wars? Come work on my comic too. So,
Perfect a
Jimmy,
Star Wars comic. You could come work on my comic.
he's worked on Avatar comics, Buffy,
Mm.
As in
Conan.
Hellbender, not Hellbender, the Airbender or
Yeah,
Avatars in
yeah.
blue people.
No, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Sorry.
Ah.
He's also worked on Assassin's Creed, Buffy the
Ooh.
Vampire Slayer, Frozen, Star Wars.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Comic book credits. Spider-Man. He's also worked on Angel. Yeah, a lot of Spider-Man stuff. Astro, Silver Agent, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Batgirl, Batman, Breakneck, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, China comics, the wrestler China.
Oh my god.
Oh, very
I didn't
fancy.
even know she had comics, but
Well, she
Conan,
deserves them.
yes, she does. Conan the Barbarian, Cowboy
Ooh.
Bebop.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot like Deadpool, Doctor Who,
Nice.
Halloween. There's a Halloween comic.
Oh.
Yeah, he's worked on a lot of stuff as well.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that being my job, but just writing in the letters. No, thank you. I don't want to have to. My spelling's not great, so I could be constantly be like, "You spelled that wrong. You spelled that wrong. You spelled that wrong." It's like, I'm trying. But yes, we love creative people. One thing I'll say about the kind of look of the comic is that each issue's style changes depending on like the era it's kind of set in.
Oh, I didn't
Because
notice.
yeah, because if you look at the first
Yeah.
issue, it's quite round. You know, like if you
Yeah.
look at it, it's very 60s looking. you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
And then when you get into comics 2 and 3, they start to kind of be a bit more solid, if that makes sense. Like, it's a
Mm.
terrible way of describing it. It gets a bit more solid, but not as detailed. And then when you get into 4, then it gets a bit more like detailed and a
Mm.
bit more kind of like, but yeah, the style kind of subtly changes as the comic goes on, which is also like clearly intentional. So it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going back through it today, looking like what at the first issue, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm seeing kind of like Archie comic vibes, like
Yeah,
um that it kind of goes back to like the Scooby Doo as
yeah,
well. Yeah, so and then it's kind of more like 80s like X-Men comics
Yeah.
in like by the time you get to the third one.
yep,
All right. I'm gonna give like a bit of a rundown of each issue. Obviously, this is not going to be in mass details, but this is just how I would summarize each issue.
yeah,
Obviously, in my own fucking dumb language. So, issue 1. So it starts with Sister getting arrested because she's been caught torturing this older religious figure. I also like to punch whoever said, "Can we throw in the line? Can you hear the thunder?" Um, because obviously that's a Cerise reference.
yeah,
And so yeah, Sister is there. She's got some guy hung upside down. He's all bloody and shit. The cops come and arrest her. Then this guy who looks like Pedro Pascal, who's a reporter, manages to catch her attention because rather than asking about why did you do it, like just he asked the right question basically, which was like
Instead of what's wrong with you, what was wrong with him?
exactly
yeah.
yeah, and she was like, "I like you, come find me," and we then skip to she's in the cell and the reporter comes in and it's like, right, tell me what's the thesis? And she's like, I'll tell you my side of the story. So go back into the 50s when Sister was a young wee lass. She lived with her mom, her dad, and her two twin sisters. And for whatever reason, her dad is kind of pissy with the local priest because of a promotion or something. So he goes over there, and sister waits in the car, but she hears a bang, and lo and behold, the priest has shot her dad. But the priest has obviously made it look like a suicide by placing a gun in his hand because, God forbid, a man of the church does anything illegal. And they have the funeral. Sister wants to come forward and say that it was the priest that did it, and of course, no one believes her. Fast forward a little bit, and the priest is now her stepdad, and of course, he's a bastard. And the twins want to go trick or treating, but obviously, this is blasphemy because it's like a Satan holiday. And the priest gets really pissy with Sister, and kind of he's kind of got her like pinned down to the ground. And it's not really implied exactly what he did to her. I kind of went maybe a bit too far with how far he went. But the twins
Mm.
break in and try and save her. But in the meantime, he kind of beats them to death, hides the bodies, and obviously the mom comes in and he's like, "Look at what your daughter did," blah blah blah. So she runs away, lives on the streets. There's quite a gruesome um cell in the comic where it implies that she gave herself an abortion with a crochet hook. Now,
Yeah.
I have questions about this. Is it implied that her stepdad raped her and he got her pregnant, or was that later down the line that some random dude off the street did that?
I I think it's implied that she was having to probably prostitute herself to kind of make ends meet
Mm,
for a while, and that's what happened, you know.
yeah.
But I wouldn't put it past the priest doing something fucking weird either, to be honest. But
Mm,
I find my thing that I took away from that is I found the statement on the page very interesting because if people are too important to be brought into the world through accident or malice, people should be wanted. And I
mm,
was determined to see my dawn, so I did what I had to do. I find the top bit, people are too important to be brought into the world through accident or malice. I find that such an interesting statement. You know?
I
Yeah.
feel like it's an important statement as
Yeah.
well. Like, people shouldn't be forced to have children just because.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
some people like, literally some people shouldn't be parents to start with.
Mm.
Like being a parent is something, it's a duty. It's important. You can't stop being a parent once you start being a parent.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it should be undertaken with sobriety and, knowing what you're getting yourself in for. And if you can't do that, or you're not in a place to do that, then you shouldn't be forced to have a child.
Mm. I'm gonna finish up just
Yeah.
issue 1, and then we'll go on into a deep dive. So she ends up fleeing America, gets on a boat, and lands in Bremerhaven or Bremerhaven. I'm not sure how you pronounce it in Germany. At least there's a signpost in one of the cells that says that. So I googled, and turns out it's in Germany, but it just says somewhere in Eastern Europe. Um, and meets. Do you say is it Marika? Marika?
Marika.
Yeah.
Marika. She meets Marika, and she sort of takes her under her wing, and she joins the circus. And the twins, aka her sisters, are now kind of ghosts, and this is where we get the first bit of them starting to haunt her, but we don't realize to what extent yet. And that's
Yeah.
how it ends. So yes, issue 1. Lego.
I find it like first and foremost, the second page, sorry, because the first page is like a fragmented image of what's happening in the room, but the second page of the shot of like the old man hanging upside down on the door is probably one of like the coolest things I've ever seen in a comic.
Yeah.
Like I remember seeing that when the preview pages came out. I was like, oh fuck, okay, because like having like the pentagram behind him and like the symbol for Lucifer and all behind him
Mm.
and like all the blood in the ring. It's insane. I love Sister. She's nuts. This comic is like rewatching old chapters and stuff. Like just reading the whole comic and just in general, looking at her, going like, wow,
She's lived a
insane.
life.
Love her actually.
uh,
It's been very interesting. Like,
yes, and like, one of the things that bothers me, or like it seems inconsistent, at least like because my dad was a pastor for a while, so it's
yeah,
kind of like, how does person get a promotion within a church? Like, I'm just, that part is kind of confusing to me. Like,
Yeah.
how is there any kind of rivalry between sister's dad and this incoming preacher? And then if it, like, if the dad is a pastor or a priest, like, why does the incoming priest wear like black clerical clothes with the collar, and dress like, an Anglican or a Catholic, while the dad is dressed like a Baptist? Like, there's just like, that part doesn't quite make sense to me. It kind of is like, there doesn't seem to be a good reason for them to be at odds with each other than um the dad is like an actual Christian person, and the stepdad is not. uh so, like, just that inconsistency there is like, that part didn't make sense to me. But like, I can push that to the side. We can work with that. I can suspend my disbelief a little bit. Like,
I'm wondering
maybe.
is the dad maybe more on the administration side of the church because he does welcome him as the new reverend, you know?
Yeah. Like,
Uh,
maybe he was a deacon before, and he went to seminary and was trying to be the pastor, or like, I don't.
no, but on the page he says like I want everyone to welcome our new reverend.
Yeah, but then the mom is talking about, like, you can't let him have your promotion.
I'm wondering, is she even talking about the priest? Because she seems to like the priest after everything happens.
She was not sus at all that suddenly he went to go talk to him about uh the promotion and then suddenly he's dead in a
Because
church.
there's this whole kind of plot later on that we'll touch on of like he's interested in joining, like getting another church to join their church, because obviously
Yeah.
it's about money. Because like we all know, like the one thing that we can like that I know that Tobias knows is he doesn't like those kind of like,
Mega churches.
yeah, he doesn't like mega churches, and that's the thing. And I feel like it's maybe talking about, like, maybe he's like suggesting that they become a mega church, and the dad's like, maybe we shouldn't, and then the mom's like, but you get more money, and he's like, but God provides. The mom seems a bit of an idiot, to be honest, because she believes everything the priest tells her, to be honest. So she doesn't seem the brightest penny in the box in the first place. But I will also say, I when I was reading this, because this whole comic is from the point of view of like from, I think like the third or fourth page, the comic becomes from Sister's point of view.
Yeah.
Up until like the last 2 pages. So I'm kind of also taking it as Sister not fully understanding herself, maybe why her dad died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like she's remembering it from a kid's point of view, you know, because it's like she's an I'm taking her as an unreliable narrator at some points too, because it doesn't make, some things don't make sense,
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
very true. There are gaps, especially like, and we'll talk about it in the later issues, but like they're in throughout the comic, the whole run of the comic. I was like, did I miss a page? Like, did a page of my comic fall out?
Yeah. And she's
Uh,
also like she's telling the story to somebody, and she kind of wants the story, like she's clearly misleading him too, you know.
Yeah, you're never going to be the villain in your own story, so
Yeah.
the only other thing I can think of is that she's not like, he doesn't, like, he volunteers at the church. Maybe like he is a deacon, and the promotion is like he has an outside job, like talking
Yeah.
about some jerk that he works with. That would be like the only thing that would make sense. I don't know. Either way, yes. Mom dumb as bricks. Sister definitely unreliable.
yeah, priest
Yeah.
kills three members of this family and she's still like but the D be good though.
Honestly, I don't even. It's not part of it is like, to me, especially for women at this time, like you couldn't have a bank account without your husband. You couldn't, like, you basically didn't exist without a man's permission. So like,
Mm,
did just marry this pastor because she needed she needed a protector,
possibly.
needed a man to be allowed to exist in society.
Did it say which state this was at the beginning?
Uh, Connecticut?
Yeah. Hartford,
Yeah, Hartford,
Connecticut,
Connecticut.
August 1953.
Mm, that maybe that could lead to something way deeper than I can be bothered to look into right now. But yeah. Um so then we go on to issue 2 and we're now in 1960 and Marika's brother has just showed up and look who it is. It's Nil. We saw it because I first wasn't too sure as to whether the twins were. I don't know why in the first issue whether the twins were actually like dead, gone, deaded, died by the
Yeah.
priest, or whether it was just like they died later on or something, like or they ran away and then died. But they kind of confirmed that because she kind of says, "Yeah, he killed my sisters." So I was like, "Okay, yeah, twins are dead by the priest."
Shocking thing to come out of this comic is the fact that the twins were 2 girls. So I hope nobody told Morris.
I was gonna say Morris was like, by the way, you played a little girl. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
No.
I mean, I played Peter Pan when I was a kid, but still.
Yeah. I played a cowboy with a full mustache once when I was in school. So,
But
but
yeah, Morris is just finding out.
Morris was like, "Did he play a girl?" It's like I didn't know then.
um, But basically, yeah, so Sister went from scooping shit of the animals in the circus to assisting what I've wrote down as Mr. Cannon. And she fucks it up because she doesn't understand German and he kind of yeets out of the cannon too soon and breaks his fucking neck or something. And she's like, no, I can do it. I'll try. So she gets in the cannon and becomes a circus act because it turns out she's actually quite good at flying. Then there's an arson attack on the circus and it burns down and everyone's panicking, fleeing, and Sister finds a cross at the scene, being like, is it my stepdad or is it someone who works for my stepdad? And also in the process, Marika and Nil's dad is killed. Now, Tobias,
Forge.
what happened to my father was Papa, his father was Papa, his father's father? Because why is Bro's dad working in a circus if he's Papa? Where's the clergy? Where is any of the where is it? The law. I'm hearing it, but I'm not seeing it.
What's interesting is in the chapters, Marika is obviously been added to the chapters now, um, in the place of Sister,
Yeah.
and she calls it the ministry. So she does. So it seems like the church, the ministry grew out of the remains of the circus. But I just think it's really funny that he's like, and it was a circus, and you're like, why? I think part of it is to kind of not have it attached to an actual like religion, you
Mm,
know. So like the ministry in air quotes came from something a non-religious background. Because one thing I will say that is like outside of the first like second page, sorry, there is a very distinct lack of Satanism
mm,
in this comic. You know, like the second page is literally a priest nailed to a door upside down in the
Yeah.
St. Peter cross kind of way with a pentagram and all behind him. But after that, it's not like it's not really ever kind of. You don't even feel like an
Yeah.
undercurrent of it. It's kind of it's weirdly ignored, and this is why I'm
mm,
saying that Sister is not a reliable narrator. You
mm,
know, because it seems really strange that she would miss all that out when it's clearly very important.
mm.
You know.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we'll come back to deep diving in a sec. But she basically says to Neil, I'm saying Neil really weird today. Neil, Neil,
Neil.
Neil, Neil.
Let's call him
Sh-
Neil. Like Neil.
Neil,
Neil.
Neil. She basically says to him, "Hey, I know your dad just died, but do you want to go back to America with me?" So they go back to there, and we then skip forward to Washington D.C. on the 10th of February, 1964, and they're sitting in a motel, really excited because they're going to see the best band in the world. Now they didn't say which band this was, and I was like, I bet you any money it's the Rolling Stones or someone. Turns out, 10th of February, 1964, in Washington D.C., the Beatles landed for the first time, and obviously Beatlemania, blah blah blah. Just little fun fact for you. And on the way there, Neil is already really pissy, um, because he's a dude, and
And because
as they're
he's Neil.
walking, and he's just there being a dude, and as they're walking to the concert, Sister sees that there's a church rally hosted by her stepdad that is going to be in town, and she's like, "I can't go to this concert. I've got to go kill my dad, well, my stepdad." And Neil is like, Are you for real? You're throwing away the once in a lifetime chance to see the Beatles at their first US show. Bruh, what the fuck? Um, they have a massive argument. She leaves him and goes to find her stepdad and sees that they've her mom and the stepdad priest dude have had a little baby together and it's a little girl. And she's running across the street and she's like, "Oh shit, don't know if I can do this." But she breaks in anyway, and meanwhile, this other priest, I don't know, is this a different priest? Yeah, it is because he's dead. This other priest is kind of trying to rape this girl that looks like Lydia Dietz. She kind of comes in and is like, "Ain't no way," and yeah, he goes bye bye, and
It's
that's
an
what she kills.
amazing end page for Sister. Like it's very Kill Bill esque.
Yeah.
Mm,
You can almost hear that music.
Yeah,
Um,
all the yellow and red. Yeah, this is
yeah.
very like end of Kill Bill.
By the way, you two, if as I'm reading this, you think that is a very or bad interpretation, that please correct me, because
No, it's just a kind of we can break it like the thing is like it's just if we need to kind of clarify stuff we can, but like it's
mm,
just a kind of overarch plot point, for the
mm,
thing. But I just want to point out I just find it really funny that Tobias Forge got the chance to write a comic and decided to write one about a man killing feminist blonde lady who is insane, and I'm like, I see you, I know who you are.
I can't believe Tobias Forge invented feminism.
it it's just so funny. Like the woman that he decided to this woman is created by Tobias. Like he clearly loves Sister. I will say that. Like there's two characters I know that he loves more than anything, and it's Copia, Cardi, and Sister. And he
Mm,
loves Sister, and it's just so funny that he loves her so much. Because like she started off as just a mouthpiece kind of for the band, to kind of be a person to talk for the band in little short
mm.
promo videos. And now he's got her going on adventures
Killing all
around
these
the
bad
world,
men.
killing people. You know what? Fair. I get it. I get it. But one thing I find really interesting from the comic is he has now put out into the universe that Primo, Papa One, is Copia and Perpetua's uncle, which is
Mm,
implying he's Papa Nil's brother.
mm.
Where is he in these comics?
Yeah, I know, I'm stressed.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I love the comic for what it is, but it is not a friendly, like a new Ghost fan friendly place to be. Because it's not even an old Ghost fan friendly place to be. Because you're going, what's happening here?
Wait, I thought you said this. What is going on? Why are we changing this in the middle of the road?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's 7 years of chapters that were building up these plots, and then like a 5-minute chapter released. I think not long after the comics had come out, like kind of in the middle of these comics, that was just like an info dump on Judith to be like,
Yeah.
I raised Cardi, and I'm married to Soltarian, and all this here, and we were a circus, but now we're the ministry, and and stuff like that there, and you're just like,
Whiplash.
what's happening? Because like he's saying about he because like the thing that keeps coming back is people always keep bringing up the him saying that the lore is going to end soon. I personally like he has said that it is going to be hard to keep up a kind of soap opera kind of thing forever, because it is going to be hard, because that's not his job. His job is to make music. He's not the lore was kind of was never originally supposed to be a part of Ghost, and he's had to kind of literally make it up as he's going, because he doesn't know. But I never took that statement of him saying the lore's going to end soon. I took that original statement of him saying, if you're only into Ghost for the lore, you're not going to be around very long, because he doesn't care as much about it as a lot of people do. Like, he cares about it, but like not to the point where he's like so rigidly,
Mm,
set on what it's supposed to be, because he's just changing it at whim. Because like literally this era, because he's added Perpetua, he's also changed like relations between Primo, like I said, Primo and the rest of them, and like he's added this whole comic, which makes everybody go, huh?
mm,
So like it's a very odd time lore wise,
mm,
and it would be really nice if there was some way he could kind of like I really hope these comics keep going, to at least trying to
mm.
kind of clear it up a bit more, because it gets worse
Well,
before it gets better.
one thing that has definitely stayed the same, the comics and the lore that we have already, is that Nil is the biggest slut.
Yep.
Yep. Nothing's changed there.
Nothing has changed. Neil, the only constant is Neil is an asshole.
Yeah. Well, tying back into some of the pre-existing lore, if we go into issue 3, um, so it starts off with one of Neil's friends being a bit of an ass to some woman, and they then go on to their party that they've planned. Now, this starts to look a little bit familiar if you're a big fan of Ghosts. And it's basically the whole music video of Dance Macabre, but in comic form. And what seems to be insinuated here is that this party, which I always thought was where Sister and Neil met, turns out not.
Yeah.
It's a kind of ploy to get these asshole men into this house so they can make them go bye bye. For whatever reason, Neil is spared. Probably because Sister likes the D.
Blinded by them red flags.
Yeah. Yeah, because she says like, "Oh, my friend Amy, whoever the fuck Amy is, she set it up because she knew what he was like." And apparently this dude that Neil was friend with was a massive sadist and blah blah blah. I think it's insinuated that he killed Amy's twin,
Yeah.
um, from what I gathered, so he had to go. Um, and then for whatever reason they go back to this motel and Project Makeover starts. Um, and she's like, you know what would look cool if you dress like this? And we see Neil then in this like rock star get up that we see in Kiss the Go Go with the makeup and the furry coat. And yeah, and
The
then it goes into
crucifix.
the
Wherever the fuck
crucifix.
she got that from.
Got that idea from. She's got this whole like thing like planned, I guess. And Ghost, as in the band, then starts in the way we know. So we see like these performances happening similar to like what's happening in the Whiskey A Go Go. Like we say, Neil is still as massive slag. So while Sister is out kicking ass, he's still talking to other girls. But she just walks in, even though she's seen all this, and pretends not to see. She's like, I do not see this red flag in front of me. And, you know, starts kicking ass. One of my favorite bits that I wrote down was she's kicking this guy's ass because he says the words, but you saw how she was dressed. She was dressed like she wanted it. And again, I wrote down, I can't believe Tobias Forge invented feminism. So yeah, he goes bye bye. Um, when they're back at the motel, this bit really confused me because it didn't really say why she decided this. Maybe because he was chatting to other girls and she just had enough. But they break up. But oops, she's pregnant. And fast forward, she's given birth to two twins who are obviously insinuated to be Copia and Perpetua. Now, her dead twin sisters. So I've split them up into twins, as in the living twins and dead twins. So I'm just going to call them dead twins. Dead twins want her to continue the revenge. She seems to still be living in this motel at the time, and the neighbors are complaining, being like, "I'm going to report you if you don't shut these damn kids up." And it kind of gets her thinking, shit, if I keep being this vigilante person and also my kids are just loud as fuck, what happens if the state takes them away and they are put into a religious home by some guy who's the same as my stepdad? I don't want that. So she takes them to Marika and be like, you look after my kids. And as we said earlier, side note, Marika is married to Soltarian. Maybe not at this point, but she is later down the line. And that's issue 3.
and Sister is slowly becoming Sarah Connor.
Yep.
It's a really, like, this is another thing. This is why I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Because why would they start Ghost? It's the beginning of Ghost feels so anticlimactic.
Yeah.
You know, like just one day she decided, oh, we're gonna make a Satan rock band. And I just happen to have the logo on a chain all ready for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it feels like there are pages missing.
I mean, she says about like music saved her and all this, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But then why you gotta bring your boyfriend to do it? Why not do it yourself?
And
Can't
then,
say.
like, how do we like? Where does the organization come from to like
Who
have
did
this
the auditions?
house?
Yeah.
Like, we have this house with these girls that like are they cannibals? Are they vampires? Like,
Yeah.
why are they eating this guy? Like, uh,
She is
like
an
how?
unreliable narrator. She's lying through her arse to this man, and he's sitting listening to her because he's an
Pedro
idiot.
Pascal is confused.
And guess
Please
what? So am I.
Please go back. It looks exactly like Pedro Pascal.
He
No,
does actually.
It does. Like Pedro Pascal, but blonde.
He's got the same nose and everything.
Like, there is so much missing. Like, there seems to be like some kind of organization in place to get this guy, but then like the rest of it, she's on her own. And like,
You know what I've just thought of an analogy for? You know how he hates maths, as in Tobias hates maths? He's
mhm.
got the question, he's got the answer, but he's not shown his working out
Yeah.
Exactly.
on his exam. So therefore, we can't give him full marks.
What's going to be really annoying is we are going to be sitting going, but none of this makes sense. And then we're going to get another 4 comics and then go, oh.
Oh,
Because like that video when he talked about them being brothers, like, you know, when talking about like the papas being brothers, and he's like, he's got his own lore wrong. And then he was like, my uncle played London, and we are like, oh no, he didn't. He just changed it and just decided not to tell us until right this second. Okay.
So right this second, like fuck
So
yeah.
like, because like, I was like, who's Marika? And like, whenever they mentioned in the comic, like, who's Marika? Why is he in a church? Why is any of this stuff happening? And then the chapter came out with all of the information. And we're like, oh, okay, that's Marika, I guess. You know,
Also,
so like,
I've always called him Cardi. Is his name literally fucking Cardinal? What the fuck?
I know it doesn't make any sense. My little cardinal. Like, did she call him Cardinal Copia? Is his name
which, and if she hates religious people so much, why would she do that?
Is there a joke in there that we don't understand? Because there.
Right, I got issue 4 here, and to be fair, I gave up. I
Only 4
literally just
issues.
literally started writing notes, and then I got to one part, and then I just wrote, "I am confusion." So let me actually pull up. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read to my notes as far as I got, and then I'm gonna pull up the actual comic and flick through live with you and try and understand what the fuck is going on. Right. So issue 4. It starts off quite cool because you see all these really cool. I'm skipping ahead here because it's basically just, yeah, she's being a vigilante, she's killing some dudes, and she's back in LA. We see all these cool LA venues like the Troubadour, the Wilton, the Key Club, and the Whiskey. Obviously, the Whiskey plays a big part in Ghost lore. Then the Dead Twins are like, y'all ain't doing as much revenge as we would like you. Can you please just kill the bastard?
Step it up.
And she's like, please leave me the fuck alone. I'm begging. Now, this is where I got confused. So she
Yeah.
goes along to this other church. Is she trying to get hired to like go undercover so that she could
Yes.
then, yeah. So, she's going through this interview process. I don't think it goes very well, and never mind, she's already got the guy behind a dumpster and is like tied him up, ready to make him go bye-bye. The lady minister of the church is like, I saw what you did there.
She's not a minister. She is a receptionist.
Not a minister, but that's what I mean. Yes, like, she's
Yeah.
but she works there. She's like, I saw what you did, and sister's confused, being like, you're not gonna report me. Yeah. I'm just looking at it now. Because suddenly it goes into somewhere in New England 1 week later. And the twins are like, you haven't killed him yet. As in, like, the dead twins. And she's like,
Yeah.
ugh, fine. So she goes over there, sees her stepdad. He's also in this very big fucking yellow Porsche looking thing. It's pretentious as fuck. And she's like, right, now here's my chance. But, oh no, there's another little kid. And she's like, oh, for fuck's sake, not another little child. Because I think she's trying to wait till there's no kids in the picture so they don't get traumatized.
Yeah.
So, but the dead twins keep popping up, being like, "Nope, you got to do it now or never," sort of thing. And this receptionist lady just shows back up again, and again, I don't really know what. She's kind of all for it now.
Yeah.
Do we know why?
Well, it's if one of the pages is further back, because like initially, whenever sister goes in to talk to her, she knows there's like a merger happening. Like I said, between churches, and she's like, "How do you know this?" And she's like, "It's just gossip going around." And then she says about, that doesn't scare you a little. There's a reason you're here with me. This is sister talking to her. There's a reason you're here with me and not telling this to someone else. And then the woman, who I assume is called Isabel, says, well, yes, honestly, I'm glad you're not panicking. I know I'm old enough to be your mother. That might make you think I'm not listening. That I'm worth listening to. It certainly made Father Bernard less cautious around me. You see, I'm in the unique position to know he deserved what you did to him. I'm invisible as far as he's concerned, so I'm not even going to ask you why you did what you did. I can guess. Still, you'd like to know for sure. No, I'd rather hear what you plan to do next and why you really came here today. And then she's like, so she seems to know that there's some type of tomfoolery going on
Hmm.
with this merger, and
Hmm.
she's not into it. But it never really explains why she's not into it, or why Sister just immediately trusts her after,
Hmm.
like, like I find it like the biggest plot hole for me is Sister trusting this random woman. After like all this stuff happening, that's like one of the weirdest plot holes.
Hmm. But she sends a note back to like Marika, and for some reason we see one of the living twins. Not sure which one. People seem to think it's Cardi, being like, "Huh." He also calls Marika mom, so he's already under the impression that he doesn't know any different of where he's come from.
Yeah,
But Marika's like, "You need to go live with your auntie for a few days. Pack your bags and go." But only to the one twin. So fuck knows what's happened to the other, whether that's
Well,
Perpetua or Cardinal, whatever. And we skip forward in time to the night it takes place. So he goes into his house, as in her stepdad goes into his house, and she follows him in. There's a big fight scene, and yeah, she goes through with what we see in the first page of the first issue. Now, he's not actually dead. He's in the hospital, and he's visited by a woman who I'm guessing is her mom, and two sons, one older, one slightly younger. And the comic ends with, "It's your empire, now take your turn." And what?
yeah. Also, as well, to add that Sister gets broken out of jail by Marika in disguise.
Oh yeah, I did literally completely skip past that.
Yeah, that's the thing that also happens, which is kind of hilarious. For some reason, it's not in my screenshots in here. I don't know why. But yeah, that's really funny that happens. I was like, how did Marika manage to? You know what? Never mind.
So one of my questions is from this last page. Where's the there's a lot of kids involved. Where's
Yeah,
the what I now assume to be elder daughter of the pastor and sister's mom? Because she's not there.
yeah,
Who- And which of the two kids is the kid that she saw running out onto the street? And who's this fucking third one? And for some reason, people seem to be under the impression that one of them's Perpetua, but I'm like, no, because
that makes even less sense.
that makes no
yeah,
sense. Because obviously, sister had the twins. And she sent them with Marika. So how would one of them have ended up with the bastard stepdad?
yeah. Also, as well, looking at this last page, I actually, it's kind of weird because, like, the amount of time that's meant to have passed, I assume, is maybe, since she had the kids, and this
Hmm.
happening is what, like, 10
Looks like
years or something.
doesn't even look like that long. As like if
5 to 7.
yeah,
Yeah,
like 7 at most, because this is a little guy. He's pretty chubby and round. Like I was thinking like 4.
yeah. I don't know how long has passed. So, like, not a long time. Like, it's not that long. I can imagine that Marika would have kept her updated on how her kids were doing and also what they looked like. And she saw the kid get out of the car, and I think she would have know her own kid, even if she's not around him.
Yeah,
Hmm.
like I'm
You know what I
sure
mean?
Marika would have shared pictures and things like that.
Or said, by the way, lost one of your twins. Sorry.
Sauce.
Oh, my bad.
So,
My
oh,
bad, my bad.
also looking back, because where I was like, I know there was a reason in there because we said that. If you look back to the page where it's like somewhere in New England, sister's talking to the dead twins. It's like you better be right about Isabella. So basically, sister is trusting Isabella because the dead sisters are telling her to.
Yeah. I'm very
Oh,
confused.
so another thing
The,
about the twins, the dead
The dead
twins.
ones? Yeah.
Yeah. It's mentioned that she thinks that they're ghosts, but she doesn't believe in ghosts.
yeah, and then
And
she's like,
the
you
journalist
just
is kind of like, but you're following them around? And she's like, and so people are saying, like, so is this like, because, like, I did see one of the big complaints was people saying, like, a lot of the kind of, like, magic, like, actual magic, like, kind of supernatural aspects of ghosts kind of lore have been kind of stripped away by these
Mm,
comics because it's just kind of implying that sister might be just have schizophrenia,
mm,
and and so that means Copia has schizophrenia because he can clearly see them too.
mm.
It's like that's not how schizophrenia works.
No.
Yeah,
First and
no.
foremost, that's not how it works. Second off, it's made very clear that Saltarian can also see all of the ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he is not related to sister.
Nope. He talks to
So,
them on the radio.
yeah,
Like,
they have a radio, which somehow has the same frequency as Saltarian. Um, so I don't think like any like this is me bringing back my thing is like this is why I don't think she's a trustworthy narrator to her own story, because she's clearly trying to sell a story to this guy to kind of sort of not justify what she's done, but to kind of give a picture of why she might have done it, to
hmm,
him.
definitely make
I
herself look more
heroic.
sympathetic. Yeah, heroic. Like, oh,
Uh,
I'm this awesome, cool vigilante.
yeah.
I've been going around making right the wrongs of the. That's why I am a murderer.
And you
It's
know
not
what?
really murder.
Good on her. Good for her. but um but yeah, like I don't think any of the like mysticism of ghost lore has been taken away. I just think it's there's a lot of holes that need filled,
Mm,
and it's just it's again like this is also, you can see the problem with Tobias not having anybody else to kind of like shoot back and forth ideas with.
mm,
Because I can imagine the girl who wrote the script for this didn't really get a lot of input into what the plot should be.
mm.
So the plot is only coming from this one guy who clearly has issues remembering the lyrics to his own songs that he's written. So like trying to remember the lore that he's also made up on the spot, is pretty hard for him. And so
He
like
just needs to hire one of us to remember
Yeah,
for him.
or get
I mean,
Alex back.
yeah, Alex Ross Perry could have saved this.
Yeah, because like Alex Ross Perry would say that he would like Tobias would tell him something, and then he'd turn around and then translate Tobias's speaking to the crew so that he could know exactly what he wanted. And I feel like he needs somebody in the middle to to explain the idea to, and then to go okay, and then for them to turn around and wait, this is what he actually means.
And
you
maybe
know?
one of us to like focus group it on.
Yeah. Get like a fan group to kind of like, okay, this is what the plot of the sister comic's going to be, and what do you guys think? And we'd be like, what?
This doesn't work.
That makes any sense? What are you talking about?
Hi- More ghost fan workshops, please.
Yeah. But I do think like he definitely loves doing this thing where he will like bombard you with information that doesn't make sense,
Mm,
and then be like, here's all the answers.
yeah,
And you're
and
like,
then we look stupid.
oh. Because he did it with Right Here, Right Now as well. You know, like he had like overloading everybody with all these things about what was going to happen next. You know, people thinking, oh, Copia's going to die. Papa Two's coming back for some reason. Like all these different theories and stuff. And then it was just a simple story about a guy worried about his future, and his parents are dead, and he's just worried about it. And just worried about mortality.
He is
Um,
a typical male gaslighter.
Yes, yes, he is. Yes, cancel him. Cancel him on Twitter.com.
He
Just
has a way of making you seem like you know what you're talking about over him, and then suddenly he'll do this, and then suddenly you're like, oh, maybe I'm the idiot.
just a typical pompous, manipulative Pisces man.
For real.
But I will say, like, I did enjoy reading the comic. It did make me really appreciate Sister a lot more. I will say
Mm.
that. I mean, because you can definitely tell that, like, Tobias Forge, like I said, had the one chance to write a comic, and decided to write it about a man-killing vigilante woman who, like, is, you know, out there just murdering all the men.
I also am personally of the opinion of um whether you like present stuff publicly, as in like through artwork or fan fiction, yes, there is like the canon, but no one's holding a gun to your head if you change things up. And if people try to say you can't write that because it doesn't it goes against like what actually happened, it's like, I'm sorry, but why are we I just personally don't see why it needs to be policed that hard. Like this is like
Yeah.
most of us grew up in an era where people on Tumblr would like get like fucking what is the first example
They,
I'm thinking of Harry
they would,
Potter, but like
they,
that Ron and like Harry were fucking each other when they clearly had girlfriends in the actual
Yeah.
plot.
to even go more mad
Or
than that,
Harry and
they would get
Draco.
Elsa. No, they even more than that. They'd get Elsa from Disney, and then the little Jack Frost
Yeah.
from
Oh yeah.
Guardians, whatever, not Guardians of the Galaxy, but you know what I mean, like that
Yeah.
Guardian movie, and then they were they're not even in the same universe.
Faction
But
for the
the
win.
the point is though, like, yes, like, I mean, in one way I get it because I'm very like I have that kind of autism where things need to make like if I have a fantasy in my head, sometimes I literally go onto Google and like make sure I'm being factually correct in terms of like I had a
Um,
fantasy of like living abroad and then I was like I need to check what visa I would actually need and I can't have the fantasy until I know the actual facts. So I do
yep,
get that. But at the same time, does it really hurt anyone if you get things wrong?
no.
Yeah, like that's the entire point of fan fiction is like I do it how I want.
Terzo is not actually fucking anyone with olive oil that we know
No.
of.
Yeah. It's not ancient Greece.
If you look at like the lore that Ghost has had, it originally started like the most that you had from it was that Papa One had something under his cloak that you didn't really want to see that also happened to
Mm,
be a monster dick, and he liked to pee sometimes on his ghouls.
mm,
You know, like it's like kind of just like random things that he whatever was in his brain at the moment of talking would be the new lore for that 5 minutes, and
mm,
then it got a bit more like a bit more solid whenever Papa Two appeared, and it talked about him being the new guy and him knowing he wasn't going to be Papa forever, and like kind of like the new Papa would come in, and then Papa Three came in, and he's the brother of Papa Two, but he never mentions that he's brother of Papa One. Everybody just assumed,
mm.
and that he's only like a year younger or so. Not
Three
even a year
months.
younger, 3 months young. Yeah, that younger than Papa Two. And then once there was nobody there to hold Tobias Forge back, he then released onto the world Cardinal and just all the lore that he could possibly have. And there's been no stopping him since.
Mm,
Um, and I think it's just always going to like you'll have a much better time if you are fine with the idea of the lords being very flexible. You
and
know,
not going necessarily your direction.
yeah, it's not Star Wars. It's not Lord of the Rings. It's an added bonus to a musical act.
Mm.
You know, like yes, it is really complicated to try and describe ghost lore to people who don't know what ghost lore is, because you're just like, listen,
Even I don't get it.
I don't get it, but here's what I assume is going on.
Mm,
Until I'm told otherwise. Because like there's a lot of fanon stuff that or fan canon stuff that has become quite popular within the fan base. Like Primo likes gardening.
mm,
That's the
Yeah.
thing that that kind of is pervasive throughout it. And also as well, for some reason, Primo has long blonde hair.
Yeah.
Stop
I
being
don't
pressing. He's bald.
yeah. Let him be old and wrinkly and bald.
Yeah, that man is like 900 years old. Let him be that 900 years old.
I mean, this is technically nothing to do with the comics, but I suppose while I throw it in quickly, because this is kind of touching on the whole thing of like, well, we've not seen much of Perpetua, so we don't know what I can't relate to him and I can't enjoy him because I don't know what like lore he has. But like you say, we hardly knew anything of Primo and
Yeah.
Secondo, and people still enjoy him, like those guys.
Huh?
It's just make your own shit up. Maybe Perpetua likes tapestries. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a huge connoisseur of medieval tapestries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm
Why not?
sticking with that, and it's canon now.
Yes, fan canon, fanon.
You heard it here first.
But it's I don't I do feel like I don't want to be one of those people, but I'm gonna have to be one of those people. I feel like ever since TikTok happened, like I know I came in just before TikTok kind of kicked off fully, but I like but since TikTok kind of kicked off, there has been like a new like even after me, like even after us becoming fans, because like I know like a lot of us all became fans quite late into this. Like they can't
Mm.
even just after the fans after us, a lot of them get very touchy about
Mm.
lore. You know,
Yeah.
like there was like when him saying anything about maybe the lore ending, like a lot of people were like, "Well, I won't listen to the band anymore," and I'm like,
Do you listen to
"There,
any of the music ever?
yeah." It's like,
Why
"Do
are
you
you
like,
even here? This is a band. It's not a
yeah,
freaking musical.
yeah, it's
I
not a
want to.
TV show. Like it's like he's a band. I think you'll have a better time if you remember it's a band first and foremost, and that the lore is being made up by a guy who doesn't even like because like if people talk about Perpetua's personality, he doesn't even know it.
Hmm. I mean, like, I mean, I know we've joked and kidded about like we're going to buy Forge when I fucking get you because of
Yeah,
this whole fucking episode, but it doesn't keep me awake at night, you know.
no,
No, I
I
don't
want to
know
know.
very well. Do I want to know? Yes, I fucking do. But am I gonna die if I don't find out?
I want to know if anyone's listening who is a Gorillaz fan. Can you tell me if it's the same? Because I know they're very like heavily law based. Is there the same sort of arguments? Is there the same like if Damon goes off track? Does this happen?
hmm. I know. I never thought about that. I
That's
know,
the
like
only
a
other
lot.
band I can think of that has a similar to the same extent, maybe.
Yeah. I know that I know they've changed some things with Noodle to kind of make her a bit less controversial.
Mm.
You know, because like her origins is a bit controversial from what I remember. I can't remember what it's off the top of my head, but I know it's very like not great for 2025 standards. You know,
Yeah.
um, listen, not hating on them, but at least our lore isn't like Sleep Tokens, where it has like somebody tried to. I was asking somebody once who's a huge fan of Sleep Token about their lore, and they sent me a 72-page slideshow, and I was like, "This band has existed for 8 years, and you're giving me a 72-page slideshow? No, thank you.
I ain't reading all that.
I haven't read all that.
Free Palestine.
Yeah, for person. But like,
Congratulations or my condolences, whichever. But I'm not reading.
yeah. Um, it's just, but like, because like, I don't think like Ghost, because like, there's parts of Ghost lore that haven't been touched on in a long time. Like whenever Sister was in hospital, she got a conversation from
The
somebody
old
else,
one.
the old one. Yeah, like who the fuck's he? And where's he been? You know, like all he was used for, like, did she just use Satan to announce authorities? Pop off, Queen, but like, um, I kind of hope, like, I feel like the comics have, like, fingers crossed, sold well enough that we'll get more.
I think it will because I feel like I said, even though it landed and ended very confusingly, that's a word.
Yeah,
Um, I think it's open for a sequel,
yeah,
and I think that's
it's
on
definitely,
purpose.
yeah, and I hope it's sold. Like, you don't have to buy, like, if you're listening to this and you haven't bought it yet and you've like read it like like through somebody sending you a link. You can go on to the Google Play Store, the Apple Play Store. I think you can do it through Amazon, and you can get the digital versions.
Mm.
And I would like they're only like £3 each. And I know like like somebody's gonna yell at me being like, "You don't know how much money somebody has. If you don't have the money for it, don't do it. But if you do have the spare, like 12 quid for the 4 comics, you know."
I think there is also very famous comic and anime websites that are apparently hosting them, but you didn't hear it from me.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like if you can't afford them, this comment is not for you. Okay, if you can't afford the £12, buy them, because then that means it gives Dark Horse an incentive to actually commission more
Mm.
for a series to continue if he wants it to continue. Because another thing that was very interesting, he wanted to make a movie for Sister, but because Sister Imperator is not like it's easier for him to make like to sell to a record label or something to make a concert movie because it's a concert movie. The Ghost is a band. But if he tries to sell to them, he wants to make a Sister Imperator movie. They're gonna be like, "You want to make a movie about a character that shows up on the web series, like on your web on like YouTube?" No.
We're
Bear
not
in
giving
mind, he couldn't
that.
even get funding for the concert movie. He had to fund it himself.
Yeah, like, because like he said, well, like he was talking about, he would have wanted to film like the her past in like black and white and things like that there, and like film it in like the style that the era it was happening in would have happened, but obviously he couldn't get the money to do that, so he had to settle for a comic, so that's why I'm saying, like, if we want more of these comics to maybe fill in the holes that we're kind of going, what does this mean? We need Dark Horse to know it's worth
What does it mean?
actually, yeah.
What does it mean?
Double rainbow.
I'm literally that Miley Cyrus meme at the piano.
Yeah. What does it mean? But if we want like these holes filled, they need to know that it's worth.
If you want your holes
Wink,
filled,
wink.
you have to pay.
If you want your holes filled by Tobias Forge, you have to pay £12. But no, but if we want the plot holes filled with plot.
We're all
But
30
we
years
need-
old.
I'm nearly 40. Like, listen,
Birthday
we're
twins.
we're like, what you call it? But but we need, like, again, but to be serious, please at least buy one of the comics, like, legitimately, so then Dark Horse knows that it's worth giving him more money to make more. You know what I mean? Like,
So
because
he
I
can
want
fill some
more.
holes.
Yeah, so he can fill holes. Because God forbid didn't do that for a lot of his career. We had to listen to him think about it.
Oh, and on that bombshell.
But yeah, good comic, good plot, somewhat confusing. Art style good. Buy comic.
Solid 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Buy more
Minus
comic.
5.5. Minus 0.5 because man doesn't know what the fuck is going on.